Hello Pythoneer, welcome to your 4th Python tutorials. In the last video, we talked about variables in Python. In this video, we are covering Python data types. So, what are Python data types? Now, to understand Python data types, you have to first understand that everything in Python belongs to a type, what we refer to as a class. So, whether it's a variable you are creating, whether it's a function you are creating, whether it's an object you are creating, everything basically in Python belongs to something. Okay, and that is what we refer to as Python types or Python data types. Now, there are so many data types in Python, but we are just going to look at some of them that will be very useful, especially in the following videos. But hey, we'll be covering we'll be covering everything about Python data types by the end of this entire series. So yes, everything in Python, like I said, belongs to a type, and these types, as I said earlier on, are referred to as classes. Okay, so Python, it's an object-oriented programming approach, like we talked about in the first video when we introduced you to Python programming language. So everything in Python is based on the idea of objects and then classes. Okay, so we have a group. Okay, we have a group, so every item actually in Python will have to belong to one of such groups. So let's bring that in our own case. Okay, so I am from Ghana. Okay, so Ghana can be a class in Python, and then I will be an object, and then I will be an object that belongs to a class Ghana. Okay, or a class called Ghana or Ghanaian. So going forward in our lessons, as we talk about Python programming and then we go into the various concepts, you always have to have that at the back of your mind. It's going to be very, very important to know that everything that we are going to create in Python, whether it's a variable we are going to create, whether it's a function that we are going to create, whether it's a method that we are going to create, okay, everything at all in Python belongs to a type, and this type is referred to as a class. Now, as I said earlier, there are so many data types in Python, or types in Python, but we are going to look at some of them. But like I said, we may not make special mention of some in this video, but we'll make mention of them in the subsequent videos. So we are looking at these basic types in Python. Now, the first one that we'll look at will be the numeric type. Okay, so the numeric type will consist of int, okay, or type of float, or type of complex. Okay, so int here is integer, okay, float is and then complex. Now I have represented them in the way that Python would output to you when you request, okay, for the type. So in Python you can always request, okay, to get to know which type the object belongs to. Okay, so if I have a data of 3 or 4, and then when I ask Python is going to tell me that it belongs to the class of int, so its type is int. The same way when I ask for float, I ask for a decimal or a precision number like 3.14, okay, which may represent pi, then that Python will tell me that this belongs to the float type. Okay, so we look at the numeric type, which I use for working with numbers. Okay, then we look at the text types, which is used for working with strings. Okay, we'll talk about strings in the subsequent videos. Then we'll look at sequence types. Okay, so in Python, you at some point will want to represent a collection of data. Okay, so there could be grades of students, there could be age of students, and then so on. Okay, and just storing them as single values, okay, may not really make sense. Okay, so you want to represent them as a sequence, okay, of numbers. Okay, so representing a particular group, and Python makes available the list, the tuple, and then also the range. Okay, so we'll look at all of these in details. We have the mapping types. Okay, so we have like the dictionary that allows us to represent our data in what we refer to as key value pairs. Okay, so you can have a mapping type, okay, that maps a key to its data. Okay, so something like let's say something like having names, okay, mapping to ages of people. Okay, so we'll look at all that. They also have the set types, okay, which use the set and then the frozen set. Then we'll look at Boolean types. Okay, so Boolean types, we'll look at what they do. Okay, allows us to to find out whether something is true or false. We'll look at that, and then finally we'll look at the binary. So where we look at bytes, we look at byte array, we look at memory view. Okay, so guys, we'll cover them in detail, and my interest in is to help you to understand them and then be able to use them, and just gain confidence in programming in Python. Okay, so I'll keep this video very short, and then we'll see in the next video when we talk about numeric data types.